Hey guys, what's up? So this video is brought to you by Dev Mountain Coding Bootcamp. If you guys are trying to get into software development, iOS development, software QA, and other stuff, check out the link in the description tab below. They are offering courses. You can actually live on campus over there. They are hooked up with employers around the country, around the world really, and they're going to help you try to find your first job in this industry. So make sure you give them a look, Dev Mountain Coding Bootcamp, and the link is in the description tab below. Hey guys, what's up? Good evening. So in this video, I'm talking about the death of both LESS and jQuery. And the reason why I think that they're both going to die relatively quickly is because of Bootstrap. And the reason why LESS has been holding on for so long, and in case you guys don't know, LESS is like a CSS preprocessor language. So it's an easier way of writing CSS to be more maintainable, have modules, things like that. Really, it's more about code reuse and mixins and things like that more than anything. But LESS and Sass have been neck and neck for roughly the past 10 years. They both have been around for about 10 years. Now, Sass, I think, is slightly older, but a stable version of Sass has only been out roughly as long as a stable version of LESS. So they've both been neck and neck. And one of the reasons why LESS has been able to survive so long is because Bootstrap chose to use LESS for its, its source code. And Bootstrap is obviously used by a million different sites, right? I mean, I say a million, like, that's like literally, if not millions, right? Or tens of millions, who knows? I mean, I would think tens of millions probably. So jQuery has been around for roughly 12 years now. When I was first getting started as a developer in like 2009, the argument, and I've said this on my channel many times, was like, do you learn JavaScript or do you learn jQuery? And now the argument is whether or not do you learn jQuery at all. As a beginner developer, I used to say, just recently actually, that like you do want to learn jQuery because it's used by so many different corporations for things that they have in production right now and that they will for even many years from now probably. But it's going to quickly start to fizzle out because now that Bootstrap has dropped jQuery from being included with it, there's not going to be a whole lot of reason to use it. Most people these days are writing JavaScript in ES6, ES7, ES8 now. And those, with the tools available, those like the language, the JavaScript language has evolved into being a much better DOM manipulator. Things like template literal syntax and things like that. These things are all new that didn't exist when jQuery came around. And browser support was a huge reason why jQuery was popular. The reason why people hate jQuery though is because it's a rather large download. So if you were to download the compressed production version of jQuery right now, which is 3.3, you're looking at approximately 84 kilobytes of data. So that's a lot of data that has to be passed across the network for every cell phone and everything that exists out there. And there was a reason why we needed that before, because you had to write something and then you spent the other 50% of your time writing it over again so that it worked in Internet Explorer. And like that's where you spent most of your time. But then when jQuery came along, you could write things the jQuery way, and they kind of did all the cross-browser headaches and solved those problems for you. So if you did it the jQuery way, it was guaranteed to work. So everybody did it the jQuery way. And then there's developers that exist now, and I'm talking millions of them, that know jQuery more than they know ES6. And I think that's quickly starting to fade out, especially now that Bootstrap has dropped jQuery. You're going to have to see developers really have to move off of jQuery DOM manipulation and strictly move over to Webpack, Babel, ES6, TypeScript, something like that, but using native JavaScript more than we've ever have in the past. So if you ask me for the record, like, do you want to learn jQuery right now with this latest news? I would say no. So the answer instead is to use Babel. Start writing modern JavaScript and use Babel to compile it to older versions of JavaScript. Make sure you start using module bundling so that you're breaking up your JavaScript code into a bunch of different different objects and composable pieces, and then use Webpack to tie all that together. So there's all kinds of different tools out there. It can be rather daunting to get up to date with the modern web development environment. I do have this new course on Udemy. So if you guys want to learn how to actually set up like Node, Express, all the different stuff like CSS loaders, Sass loaders, stuff like that, I have a tutorial series. The link is in the description tab below, and it actually goes through all of that stuff. But basically, don't learn jQuery right now. You probably don't need to if you're just getting into it. Now, if you're going to get a job, obviously, and they're using it, you have to learn it, right? But for any new developer that's just looking to gain traction and like not waste their time, I would definitely say that jQuery is probably going to be a waste of time at this point. it's already been frowned upon for several years, where a lot of really the hipster startups and things like that like really hate jQuery, even though it did so much for us for so long. Like, it's kind of a shitty thing to hate on something that really did like make our lives a lot easier when it came out originally. But no matter what, like, no technology spends all of its time in the sun. You know what I mean? Like, even something like C, like, right, Dennis Ritchie, one of the greatest developers in the world, nobody's writing C, right? Like, we're all writing something, some higher level of C, right, with Python or Java or C# or something. But even like C, like, everybody gives credit to C. I think, you know, jQuery deserves to have that credit. Like, there was like a 10-year window, or close to 10-year window, where jQuery really solved a million problems that the web had, and really just about cross-browser compliance and getting things to work with you know, JavaScript engines across the different browsers. And then my answer to whether or not you should learn Less at this point. Now, once Bootstrap 4 dropped Less probably has 25% of the market right now compared to Sass. I would just estimate. But I think that's going to dwindle now much quicker as well, because a lot of times if you're dragging Bootstrap in and you're going to integrate that into your website, you're like, well, I might as well use Less because I can just bring in the actual Bootstrap source code, right? Well, now that Bootstrap source code is going to be in Sass, so you might as well be using Sass. And for those that don't know, Sass is just a CSS language, just like Less. It's just more popular and it's gotten more community support. And then finally, I just wanted to say, for the record, I've been saying this, I think if anybody found the videos, I could go back years ago, like when Medium first came out. I basically said Medium, to me, was worthless. Like, all these different content creators went to Medium to create their content. I think most of them probably didn't care about monetizing it, especially the already famous people that used it. But Medium itself can easily be replicated through any sort of blog. Like, if you use Linode for web hosting, you could run your own blog. Like, you don't have to use their content platform to even write like good looking stuff. If you want to see like a nice WYSIWYG editor that's just JavaScript that you can integrate into your website to write blogs and stuff like that, Quill.js is a pretty good product. I've actually integrated it into one of my sites, and it really saved a lot of time when it came to blog writing. But the reason I mentioned Medium is because all these different content creators, these blog writers and things like that, they use Medium as a platform, and then how to use Medium's, you know, rules and things like that to monetize their content. And then now Medium is like spamming their users to basically say, okay, after you've read a certain amount of articles, you have to then sign up to read more. So like, you as a writer now on Medium are now being affected by the fact that, you know, that they're doing that. And I was just simply saying the entire time, I'm like, if anybody was going to invest like in a serious blog and they're going to be writing serious content, why would they ever use Medium? Like, even now, why would you ever do that? Like, you could easily write a website that looks just as pretty, and you could actually maintain your own content. So I'm sure Medium maybe will give back the data or something like that if they go out of business, but it's just interesting. One of the companies I think that's having trouble right now is Discuss, right? So they're having a lot of issues right now too. So like, it's just kind of interesting that these social media platforms can just disappear overnight. Like, and look at Google Plus, right? Google Plus is now being retired. So how many people have spent time building up and wasting their time trying to build up a social presence on, you know, Google Plus to have it shut down? What if the same thing happened to YouTube? Right now, you know, it's probably unlikely, right? But one day, same thing could happen to YouTube and all the content and all this stuff. So I guess I have backups of all my content or whatever, but like without YouTube, it's just kind of gone, whatever. So anyway, like, Medium wasn't really filling any sort of gap like YouTube did. So I don't really understand the point behind it, really, or why people flock to it so much. I think it was just simply who the creator was and like the buzz around it and everything. But like, it wasn't a very unique idea to me to have so much traction. All right, guys. So that's basically it. I mean, Bootstrap announcing that they've now dropped Less and now they're dropping jQuery. There's going to be some problems with that, I think, because if you look at some of the, you know, the work that they did to actually pull jQuery out of Bootstrap, there was a ton of different PR submits and things like that, or pull requests to get like all this like core functionality that jQuery was providing, that there wasn't an alternative out there with just raw JavaScript yet. So we'll see how well that actually rolls out. But some of the hating on jQuery, it's still a little bit premature. Like, even when it comes to like watermarking, date and calendar controls and things like that. Like you'd be hard pressed to find stuff that works just as well as jQuery across browsers, across cell phones, and things like that. So we'll see how well this rolls out, but it's certainly the beginning of the end for jQuery. It's been that way for probably quite some time, but this is definitely another huge nail in the coffin.